Hello YouTubers, RogueMonkeyJr here, and in today's video we're going to talk about the sniper changes that have hit the Battlefield 1 CTE. Now certain people are calling it a buff, certain people are calling it a nerf. In my opinion, it's actually a little bit of both, so hear me out here. So they added a couple of things that you can change video settings wise for the bolt action rifles in Battlefield 1 on the CTE. Now, unfortunately I couldn't get some CTE footage. I just couldn't connect to the CTE today. All I was getting is unknown error occurred. And there was literally nobody playing in any of the servers. So I would imagine that a lot of people were having the same issue as me and could not connect to the Battlefield 1 CTE. But we're going to make this video anyways. I can explain briefly what this video setting is and how it changes maybe the meta of snipers in Battlefield 1. Well, actually there's two different video setting effects, but there's one that we want to focus on a little bit more. So the first one is called lens distortion effect, and you can choose whether or not you want to have the distortion around the lens when you're aiming down sight with a bolt action rifle. And the most important one is the sniper scope DOF. Now DOF, what that means is depth of field. Depth of field basically blurs objects around you when you are aiming down sight. Now specifically the sniper scope depth of field setting says this: controls whether the depth of field effect is applied when aiming with a scoped bolt action rifle. This effect slightly blurs objects outside of your rifle's one-hit kill range, while objects in that range will appear clear. This makes it easier to recognize your rifle's optimum range. If this setting is disabled, the scope will display objects clearly at all ranges. Now, first, when I launched the CT a couple of days ago, I did notice that the scope was blurred and there was a lot of things that I wasn't used to. And I was like, what the hell is this? Why is the scope blurred? Why is there lens distortion? By default, they're on. They do, however, give you the option to turn them off, as I said. So before we step into how this is a nerf slash buff, it's a two-part kind of thing, because there's one part that they don't really say in here, but I digress. So I'm not really a fan of the sweet spot mechanic in Battlefield 1. While it does feel very awesome to get a one-hit kill in that sweet spot, it kind of takes away from the sniper gameplay. So in previous titles, snipers did 100 damage within, like, I forget, 20 meters, for example, and at further ranges you would get lower damage, so you'd have to aim for the head to get that guaranteed one-shot kill. But of course the movement was a little bit different, the bullet velocity was different, so you can't really compare them like apples to apples. It's a little bit more like apples to oranges here. So in Battlefield 1 you have sweet spots, which is basically at a certain range you can get a one-hit kill if you hit an enemy in the chest. Now the sweet spot varies for different sniper rifles. For example, the SMLE Mark III Marksman has a sweet spot of 45 to 75 meters, which gives you 30 meters to get that one-hit kill. And before that, you can't get a one-hit kill at the chest, you have to aim at the head, and beyond that, same thing, you have to aim for the head to get a one-shot kill. Now sniping generally is pretty easy in Battlefield 1 compared to previous titles, and compared to some other games maybe, but I mean, generally speaking, it's easier, and there's been this kind of mentality that, oh, snipers are useless. There can be some very good recons out there, or scouts, that play the objective even though they have a bolt action rifle and that are very good at it, but there is a large part of the snipers that just camp in the back trying to get that sweet spot range and getting those kills. In Battlefield 4 you didn't see this issue as much, because the way the classes were set up, you had access to different weapon classes within a specific class. So for the recon in Battlefield 4, you had the bolt action rifles, DMRs, carbines, and shotguns. In Battlefield 1, you only have bolt action rifles, with a couple of exceptions like the M1903 Experimental, which has, basically, it's a semi-automatic rifle. So what the sniper scope depth of field does, it says it in the name and in the description. Everything that is blurred means that it's not in your sweet spot range, and everything that is clear means that it is in your sweet spot range. So for me, this part sounds like a buff, because it's just going to make it easier for like scouts to pinpoint the sweet spot one-hit kill of a bolt action rifle. Doesn't matter which one it is, it'll always act the same way. So at this point you're wondering, well, what's the problem? It can't really make that much of a difference. Well, it kind of does, because it's just going to make the one-hit kill range a lot easier to find, and in my opinion, if you use a weapon long enough, if you're a veteran player of the game, you know your distances. You don't need some gimmicky effect like scope depth of field to know approximately how far your target is from you. And you're just going to be able to estimate, let's say for example you're using the SMLE, if they're 45 meters away, you're going to know it. It's just going to be subconscious. You're going to know about how much distance there is between you and the enemy, and it just shows that maybe using the same bolt action rifle over and over and over again gets you used to that sweet spot range without you even noticing. Now this kind of makes it a little bit more casual, or a little even easier to snipe, because you don't even have to think about that. It's just going to tell you, okay, this guy's in your sweet spot range, or he's not, back up a little bit, and now he is. For me, it's just, we don't need this. I mean, it's already easy to snipe, and if you disagree, that's fine. You can have your own opinion and think that it's difficult to snipe, but personally, I think it's very easy. The bullet velocity is actually quite high. You have that one-shot kill potential at varying ranges depending on what bolt action rifle you need, and adding this just makes it easier. Like, if you're a veteran player, as I said, you're gonna know the distance and you're gonna get used to that rifle, and it just, I mean, it's just closing the skill gap a little bit more instead of like having a difference between beginner players and veteran players. I don't know. So the second part is the nerf part. Now, with this in the CTE currently, there's now a scope glint in marksman scopes. So in the live servers right now, if you're using a magnified optic that is 5 times and up, you get a scope glint. If you are using something that's 4 times, 3.5 times 3, or the other one, you don't get a scope glint. So that's kind of the advantage of using a marksman scope over a sniper scope. You don't get that scope glint, and personally I prefer not having a scope glint. Although some weapons don't have the variant with the marksman, I use the sniper variant, but I mean, generally speaking, I use the marksman variant. I don't like giving my position away that freely. But in the CTE, how it is right now, which is why there's a nerf for the sniper, is all scopes give a scope glint. Every single scope that can be attached to a sniper rifle has a scope glint. So the only way to not get a scope glint is to use an infantry version. And for the use that you want to use that bolt action rifle, I mean, it kind of deters people from actually using scopes, and that's why I think that that part is a nerf. But I mean, it's a whole sniper change. There's a big change in what's happening, and I do believe that they might be testing this for the next game. Why implement this so late into Battlefield 1? I mean, it's only now hitting the CTE. Is it going to hit the live servers by June 2018, which is up until when they said that they would support Battlefield 1? Or is it just something that we're just going to see in the CTE for a while, and it's just being tested for the next game? But I personally, I don't think it's a good idea. I mean, sniping is already easy, as I said, and we don't need more gimmicks to make it even easier for people to find that one-shot hit-kill range. Just aim for the head. Just get used to aiming for the head, and I mean, you're going to be fine. You're going to get pretty much one-shot kills all the time. So let me know in the comments down below what you think of the sniper scope depth of field and the fact that all these scopes are now going to have scope glints. I mean, I really hope that doesn't go through. It completely makes it pointless to actually use a marksman variant now. And also, let me know if you enjoy the sniping in Battlefield 1, how it is right now. While you're down there, be sure to hit the like button if you enjoyed the video. Subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. I release Battlefield and first-person shooter-related videos pretty much every day. And as always, thank you very much for watching. I really appreciate it, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Have a good one.